Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Part 2 of the review of the 2024 breeding season. Youngsters, I am with, of course, the erstwhile, the hasn't bothered having a shave, but he smells lovely, everybody. He smells absolutely lovely. He must have had his annual bath. Is that?
Once a week.
Once a week, yeah. He likes to save water, typical Yorkshireman. In store today, well, it's a relatively quick episode, I think, but we will have a look at the birds that Geralds bred this year as part of the Spencer Eld partnership. Fair to say, mate, there's one or two.
One or two.
We'll have a look at them, and so as we go through the show, we'll mainly be sort of looking at birds and talking about some of the ups and downs from the 2024 breeding season and our future plans. So you know what to do, everyone. Grab yourself a cuppa, sit back, and as always, enjoy the show. So he is shy.
I am shy.
You are shy, aren't you?
I hate this part.
You do hate this part, don't you? But But you know what? To be fair to you, you don't like this part, but you do it, and I think I speak for everybody on behalf of everybody who watches the show. They want to hear from people like yourself. Recently we've been to see Phil Warne, obviously Keith Ferry. We go and talk to people who've been there and done it. And that's the important thing. And as they have been, you've always been very generous with your knowledge. And I think it's fair to say, mate, that it's been a really good season in terms of we joke about one or two, but as we look at the footage, we know there's more than one or two in the room. But it's been a really good season this year, hasn't it?
Numbers wise, aye.
Yeah.
Bred better than for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Still birds that only like ones and twos off. You know what I mean? But in general, I've been getting 4 and 5s in nests. Some people say my hens don't lay fucking 4 eggs. Sorry about swearing.
I might have to put the bleep on that.
I say they don't lay 4 and 5 eggs. Well, last couple of years, that's what they've been doing.
Yeah, and I think that's important, isn't it? We know, we talked a long time about sort of the pedigree of a stud and how you keep that stud going, how you keep developing that stud, and one of the things I think it is important to say, fertility's always been good. Again, going back to the episode with Phil, Phil talked about people get my birds, they do all right one year and then they don't do anything the next because they drain them. And I think we've all got different practices, we've all got different feeding regimes, but I think it is fair to say that yield of birds, and it's not something you've ever really struggled with, is it? In terms,
no.
there's always the odd hen, and I think if you're keeping as we do, sort of 28, 30 hens, there's always the odd hen that doesn't perform, and it's normally the better ones, which is a bit frustrating. But I think, numbers-wise, like you say, best season for sort of 4 or 5 years, and what's really noticeable again in the room this year is there's strength across the colours. Everybody who's been watching the episodes about the partnership will know that, moving forward, I'll concentrate on the predominantly lighter birds and you'll be concentrating on the predominantly darker birds, but we'll both have light and dark birds in the room as well. Yeah, and I think that's important. And one of the things which is really interesting, we saw at the beginning of the year a very, very nice cinnamon yellow cock bird, and there was a couple of very nice cinnamon yellow cock birds and a cinnamon buff cock bird you had. But the volume of cinnamons and fawns, but not just the volume, because anyone can breed volume. The quality of the cinnamons and fawns this year, there's, we'll keep saying it, it'll become a standing joke. We might get a T-shirt, there's 1 or 2 alike, but there are 1 or 2 really nice cinnamon fawns coming through, aren't there?
Whether they're big enough for 1 or 2, that's another thing, but the size that I like.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing. First and foremost, everybody, the Fife is a diminutive bird. Kev, that's especially for you. A diminutive bird, 4 1/4 inches is the model. That's what we're aiming to breed to. It's hard to get everything on a small bird, but
right.
But you've achieved that, I think. Looking at some of the fawns there, again, I mean, it's sort of end of August as we film this. I think it's fair to say that Some of the birds in my room are perhaps a little bit more finished than they are in here. So there's still a way to go, but there's some really nice cinnamons, fawns shaping up.
Still a cinnamon in there. It's been in there 4 weeks. It's still, well, it was trud. Mated the other day. Green buff cock.
I just said as well, I said to Gerald before as I was looking, I said there's a cinnamon hen there in the flight which is still picking up, so they'd probably carry on, but actually it's a good time now, certainly the end of August, to have everything finished and done, and the process of sort of just seeing how they develop, and I think, you know, we talked off camera, it's a frustrating time of the year, isn't it? Because you see birds that you like and you think you're looking at the potential. You've seen how they come out the nest. And then you look at them and then you think, oh,
a bit long.
Yeah, it's got a bit long, and has it got a bit too much on the front? And
just like them two birds that singled off. You know, they one day I think, is there too much front on that? Is its head big enough?
Yeah.
And then the other time you look at it and it's different.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing. You know, our first show will be October time, so we're it's probably 6-8 weeks before our first show, and there's plenty of time for the birds to finish off in that time, isn't there? And I think, you know, we know that the show season, and again, something that you've always done, and I've sort of mimicked what you've done, is that you've got a range of show birds. You'll single them off. Some of the surplus birds will go towards sort of early October rather, and you'll clear some room and you can start to single some birds off. And then once you've singled them off, you know that the entire show team isn't going to be ready for the first show of the season.
No, it won't be.
No.
It won't be not for first. It'll be November, really. Middle of November's best.
Yeah. And I think that's always been the sort of, you know, the approach that you've taken.
November is the best month, really.
Yeah. And by November, the vast majority of the birds will be finished off. And again, you'll have birds that, you know, you may only put out once or twice. You'll have birds that will go out 3 or 4 times. So it will very much depend. And again, you know, we'll probably talk about this in a future episode when we look at the show season. But it is very much about how that bird is at that moment in time, isn't it? It's and making sure, and we said in the previous episode in my room that, you know, the show team is going to come here, and the show team's coming here for 2 reasons. One, you're the master at preparing birds, I think, for the show bench.
Aye.
Yeah.
I think that's been some of your thing, you know, like with all birds. I think would have gone far if they'd have been
better presented.
Correct.
Yeah.
I've said that.
Yeah, you have said it to me for a long time, and I think, you know, that's kind of a double-edged sword, really, isn't it? Because on the one hand you think I've bred something really nice, and on the second hand you think, but I haven't done the bird justice because I haven't had the time to necessarily get it absolutely bang on for showing. But hopefully this year that will be different.
I'll get them right.
You will.
I will, friend.
You will.
Partner.
Bless you. So, I had a little talk about the cinnamons and the fawns, mate. But I think fair to say, you know, across the colours, there's a number of blues in here as well, isn't there? A couple of allieds that are sort of starting to take a little bit of shape too. I
don't know how many there is, to be honest, but
yeah, I can see you looking. I can see you looking around. I can see you looking around trying to count them.
There's maybe a dozen.
Yeah, and you know, some with a couple in the cage 8 there, with already showing some really nice sort of some signs, and that's important. We've talked about it already in the episode. You know, the birds take time to develop, don't they? You can't rush them, and one of the birds, I think we'd perhaps both agree on this, of all of the variety or the colour variants of Fifes, the one bird that takes the most time to come is the clears and tick birds.
That's correct. You can see there's, even though they're getting the same amount of light, there's 2 or 3 of them that's dropped the tail feathers.
Yeah, and that's difficult, obviously, in for the show, because if the tail grows back long, then the bird looks longer itself. But a nice flurry of clears. We had a little chuckle, didn't we, earlier in the season when you thought you'd got a couple of clear buff cocks and
Turned out to be
they turn out to be. See, even Gerald can get it wrong. Everybody.
Then I was stuck.
Yeah, and I think that's, hopefully the partnership will mean that we'll be less stuck moving forward if that happens. But there's some nice clears here taking shape. I look at the birds in cage 12; they're just out the corner of my eye, and they're looking nice. And in cage 13, so the important thing I think with the clears, and this is something that you spent quite a bit of time doing, wasn't it? Is getting the style, the stamp, if you like, the Spencer stamp on the clear birds as well. That was something that took time to do, wasn't it?
It did take time. I got some off Roy Fox and not many. Well, I asked him for an hen to start with, and I asked him for a cock. And when you used to go to Roy, whenever you went into his house to start with, cup of tea, biscuits, not like here.
Yeah,
to make your own here.
Yeah, you do if you're lucky, and if Sharon's not in, you're knackered.
Oh yeah, they are. And no, and then when you used to go into the shed to Roy's, the birds what you'd asked for, they're there. And he said, "Are you happy with him?" I said, "I am happy with him." And that's more or less it got me up and running that thing. And then I did have a couple of birds and off another chap. And that's it, like clicked sort of thing, and yeah. Just gone from there.
And I think you've won colour specials, you've won shows with the clear line, and that's sort of, but getting that style, the style which I think has been synonymous with the dark birds, and what's fascinating for me this year, and I've been coming here 20 odd years now, so what's fascinating for me this year is you never really bothered about the colour. You're all about the quality of birds, which is exactly how it should be. But the darks again this year, the shed has got, it's got allieds, it's got cinnamons and fawns, it's got clears and variegateds in. But there is a fair number of dark birds in here this year.
There's more darks.
Yeah,
there is, yes.
Yeah, and the standard, the standard of them, the dark birds. You've always been synonymous with the quality of the dark birds that you produce, and I think people talk about the style that you manage to achieve, and it's hard to do, is to get the style almost of a yellow feathered bird but on your buff birds. And there's a dark green hen, I think, in one of the cages. Both hens, and we'll have a little look at that in a second. But that's the sort of style, isn't it? That freedom of the neck, the freedom of the neck, the sort of the position of the bird, the short birds, the small birds, but they've got that real type, and many people will say it can be a lot harder to get in a buff hen and a buff cock bird because of the feather. But that's something that consistently throughout the room you've managed to do, and again this year.
It's all down to pairing and one thing or another.
Yeah, all down to. Well, we're gonna do another little special episode with Gerald, and we'll try and pull those secrets from him, everyone. That's something to look forward to.
There's no showcase has been on yet. You can see that.
Yeah, no, and again, I think the beauty of the room. You talk about this, and there's something with people at the top of the tree, and it's about precision. And as you've gone through today, they've had broccoli, haven't they? They've got some apple. I bought some more of the top tonic from Pet Sauce down.
It's good stuff, that, by the way.
Yeah, it is. No, it really is. But the Gerald's training cages are basically show cages, mate, aren't they?
The same as the show cages.
Yeah. And they've got sort of by the windows, the 6 over there. There's another. However many, count them, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. There's another 18 on there. So there's 24 with the sort of staging.
25 with the one on the door.
25 with the one on the door. Can't miss the one on the door, everyone. And that'll be important. And as you say, the show training really starts in earnest, doesn't it, in the next couple of weeks? The birds are naturally steady anyway. But,
yeah, right.
And that's clearly important. But I think the giving them that sort of, as much as you can, create that show environment here, it is going to be important
Mine
as well.
are generally steady.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, I've had a good season, Matt, this year. And with this dog, I mean, I've not been, even though it's been breeding season, I've had a good season. I've not been coming in here, well, at least 11:30.
Right.
Even through breeding season. That's when they've been. I've fed them on a night, and then they'll get the feed when I come in at about 11:30, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's when I start mating them, and I've done all right.
Yeah. No, it has. All of a sudden, there's a phone call, everyone.
No, it's Gaffer. I'm not answering it.
Oh, shit. It's his missus, and he's not answering it. He's a brave man. So listen, everyone, that's all we've got time for now. Thank you. As always, it's good. I was going to say good to have your hospitality. I have had a cup of coffee, everyone.
No beer. You fetch no beer.
I fetched no beer. I did bring a lovely steak pie, though.
I know that for me, too.
Yeah, you see, I'm looking after him.
Mushy peas, not petit pois.
Mushy peas, yuck. Listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, there's plenty more of this nonsense to look forward to. We will see you on the show bench throughout 2024, where hopefully we'll do okay. Until next time, everyone, take care.